As widely used as writing is today, it hasn't always been like that. Back many thousands of years ago, when humans were still hunter-gatherers, written language was a foreign concept. It's taken a long time to get to where we are now, so let's go back in time and find an answer to our question. How does written language evolve? Writing begins as pictures, drawings of animals or people on cave walls or elsewhere. They don't have any consistency at first, but eventually they develop into a more standard proto-language. In ancient Mesopotamia, people began using symbols to help keep track of storage, eventually turning into an actual complete written language. This type of writing system, using characters to symbolize ideas or words, is called a logography. It's the most intuitive way to write, which is why all the earliest written languages use this system. It isn't perfect, though. Scribes have to memorize thousands of characters, which is part of the reason people begin to use something called the rebus principle. The rebus principle sees characters as representing not only words, but the sounds that make up those words. If you wanted to write boat, but you didn't know the character for it, you could instead use the character for bot, a similar sounding word. You could also add multiple sounds together to form a more complex word. While rebus writing becomes widespread, logographic writing is still used. In ancient Egypt, characters with a dash underneath them were meant as logographs, otherwise they were used for their sound. You might be thinking that this system would require a lot of guessing. What if several words use the same character, like sun, soon, and sown? How can you tell which one it's meant to be? Well, this is what determinatives are for. They are logographic hints put beside the sound character that help you determine its intended meaning, hence the name. Logographies aren't the only way to write. In ancient Maya, where writing has developed independently, each word is a block made up of different parts. But they aren't logographs, they represent syllables. Together, they make up a word. This is called a syllabary, where each character represents one syllable. As 2000 BC approaches, rebus writing is changing in Egypt. Vowels aren't written in Egyptian, they're just implied through context. So each character represents one or more consonants that you can fill in the blanks between. Eventually, people turn a system like this into something more simple. Wouldn't it be easier if we only needed one character per sound, so anything could be communicated with only tens of characters? The Phoenicians are the first to adopt this type of language, an abjad with only one character for each consonant. People liked the idea of this, and so the Phoenicians spread it, changing and evolving along the way. It also spreads to Greece, but Greek is a different kind of language. Some sounds used in Phoenician aren't used in Greek, so they repurpose those characters to represent vowels, an alphabet. Alphabets spread all around Europe, notably to Rome, where we find the script we still use today. We can't forget about abjads, though, which are still widely used, but something changed while we were gone. Some abjads began to partially represent vowels. They took some characters already in use and made it so they can also represent vowels, or types of vowels. Some of them went even farther, ending up with an entirely new writing system. It shows both vowels and consonants, but vowels aren't separate characters, they're modifications of the consonants. This is called an abugida, or an alpha syllabary, because it combines the traits of a syllabary and an alphabet. That about explains the structural differences between written languages, but we aren't done yet. Written languages aren't only different structurally, they're also different aesthetically. Let's see why. You might remember cuneiform from earlier. It has a very distinctive appearance because it was written by pressing triangular reeds into clay tablets. It's very different from ancient Chinese, which was written with ink and brushes. This is the first factor, writing materials. The medium used to write a language will have an effect on how it looks. based on its qualities and limitations. When the dominant writing medium changes, so does the language. This is how lowercase letters in English came about. When people began writing on paper instead of carving into stone, the angular lines became softer and letters became smaller. But written language isn't the only thing that changes. Spoken language also changes over time, usually faster than writing. For this reason, most written languages lag behind in terms of accurate spelling. Sometimes sounds that aren't spoken anymore are kept in writing anyway, to hint at how you should say a different sound. And then when we take words from different languages with different rules and stick them into our already inconsistent spelling system, things get messy. Languages vary in how different their spelling is from speech, but remember that every word was once said the way it's spelled. It's been a long time, and we've come a long way, starting in some early communities and spreading across the continents, changing with empires and innovations, and bringing us to today. It's interesting to look at our shared heritage, to see where everything started. But language is always evolving, and in 1,000 years, who knows how we'll write our stories.